Hey, what's going on? Welcome to AngularAir. I'm your host, Justin Schwarzenberger, and on today's episode, we are going to be talking xLayers. Pretty cool
Yeah.
project. Can't wait to hear more,
Yeah,
dig into it. Let's say hi to our panelists, and then we'll meet our guest. Joining us today, we have Mike Brocky. Mike, what's going on?
Not too much. Been away for a little bit. Happy to be back. But to be clear, did you say panelist ends in ST? Was it STS or just ST singular?
So I said it really quick, so I don't know if you could hear if I pluralized it or singularized. It's one, right?
I think it's just me.
Just you. All right. You're holding down the fort today for our panelists as one panelist. Wow. All right. Cool. And so joining us as guests today, we have William. William, how's it going?
hey, I'm William. So my name is Williams, and I work with Wassim. It's my first time on a podcast, on show, on live, on everything. It's my first experience.
Awesome. We're stoked to have you, and hopefully it'll be fun for you. We're pretty low key and mellow, so hopefully you'll have a good time. We're stoked to have you. And joining us is our other guest, Wassim. Wassim, how's it going?
Hey guys, doing well. Thanks for having me back.
For sure. You've been on a couple episodes throughout the years. Yeah. It's crazy to say years. I can't believe we've been going for that long.
It's a long time, actually.
Yeah. I think we were talking about it before. Last episode you were on, we were talking Compodoc.
Yeah, Compodoc, and before that, Angular Universal. It's really like old.
Nice. And we got a totally new topic for today.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, you want to tell our viewers a little about yourself for the ones who haven't watched those back episodes?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Wassim. I'm an engineer. I work at Sphere here in Paris, in France. And I currently am leading the open source department here at the company. And on my spare time, I like to build stuff. So I'll build a couple of projects such as NJX tools, xLayer, Angular Klingon, and a bunch of other stuff like content. You can check them out on internet.
Awesome. So we're talking xLayers today, right?
Yep.
So what is xLayers?
Okay, so I actually have some slides to present. So we give you a little bit of history and context. So can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's do it. All right. Okay, everyone is seeing the screen, right?
Yep.
Right, perfect. All right, so yeah, as I mentioned, so I'm Wassim. So and this is xLayer. This is about actually designing, implementing the design, and repeating, and how we can solve this, because there's lots of stuff to solve. So a little bit of history. I actually maybe a year ago I was doing Angular consultancy here in Paris for some clients, a bunch of them, and when it came to UI designs and implementation, I started actually to notice a common pattern. Because usually you have this idea you want to ship to prod, and then between you go this whole process of designing and then sending your design to the dev team, and trying to iterate over this again and again until eventually you ship it. So to summarize, basically you have your idea, you go over the specs, maybe some wireframes, and then simple prototype. So I hope everyone is doing this. And then you start this whole workflow with visual designing this widget or this feature, and then iterating with dev team to implement this design, and going back and forth, and yeah, and then have it in your products. So the problem about this workflow is, I do believe, personally do believe, that most of design code workflows are broken, and simply because implementing the design by a developer can be sometimes tedious. Well, most of the time it's fun. It's a fun task, a challenging task. But usually, I mean, you have to do the same thing again and again. You have to implement the layout, the CSS, maybe like repeating yourself again and again, and this can be really boring or tedious depending on the person. um, Other thing is like while you as a developer are implementing the design team actually maybe got some new updates to like to build in their design, to integrate to their design. And obviously this would break the code that the developer has previously implemented. So maybe the developer would need to either like integrate the new design into their code, their implementation, or in the worst case, maybe like throw everything and like start from scratch. And from the business side, this can cost lots of money. I mean, I don't know about you in the US, but like here in France, in Paris, like a day, like a person day can cost like between on average like 800 or maybe 1,000 euros. Like times the number of people working on this can really be can cost lots of money. So how can we fix this? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all engineers, and maybe like our um, like first task in life is to automate all the things. So I was thinking about this, and I thought, yeah, I mean, we can definitely build a tool that generates like most of the design. But if you're, I don't know if you're familiar with the model-driven architecture. It's like a common topic in computer science. Like I remember when I was at university, we have this course, and it's really a hard task to do, like for computers, like to generate code based on. So here for MDA is based on UML diagrams. And for like the fun fact, I actually had a friend of mine who like she spent 5 years like doing her PhD on this topic. It's really challenging topic.
Yeah, as soon as you say like, okay, let's solve this. That's the thing about building something. I get all like sweaty and nervous. I'm like, man, that sounds like a giant project, right? A real challenge.
Yeah, I mean, that's me. I like challenges. Like, let's do it. And if you remember, like using Adobe Dreamweaver or my favorite Flash Builder back in the days, I mean, it's a WYSIWYG thing. You can like build your UI by like drag drop in and creating the UI without like or like small amount of code. So yeah, some tools have tried to solve this issue, and like even today, many great tools are trying like to solve the same issue. I'm not gonna name them, but there are like tons, tons on the internet. You can find them. The problem with these tools is like many of them, if not all, are not free. So maybe some of them have like a free plan where you have like one user or one design or one project, and then you have to pay for the rest. I mean, and this is completely fine. I mean, this is business. That's totally fine. And many of them are not open source for the same reason. And this could be like an issue for some people. But yeah, and again, some of them, not all, but some of them are not cross-platform. For instance, if you take like SketchUp, SketchUp, like the Bohemian, they only support macOS because SketchUp depends heavily on Cocoa SDK, and you can't use it on other platforms. And you have other tools that only work on Mac or Windows, Microsoft Windows. But luckily, there are a couple of open source alternatives which also work on Linux. But the thing is, even those who might be free, like they have some sort of like plugins that would require you to buy a license for like Sketch or for Adobe XD or those UIs. So you will have to pay for the license. And one of the things I noticed is like some of these UI tools, even like some of them who do support code generation, like they only do basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript generation. You would have to take these templates and integrate them into your favorite framework. And for this, like on the business side, you will have to like hire someone with this expertise if you're not doing it already. So as I said, I wanted to solve this, so I started this project a year ago, and then like I had to pause it for a little bit, and we started we resumed recently. So this is xLayer. This is basically a tool that tries to bridge the gap between designers and developers. I was mentioning earlier. So you have the design code workflow. So why not have a tool that generate most of the layout, most of the code of your widget? So obviously it cannot generate everything because you would need a human to implement all the complex logic that businesses need. So this is not going to replace any developer anytime soon. Don't worry about it. So it's basically an online code generation service. It's a web app. It's written in Angular, obviously. And I want to highlight this. xLayer is not yet another UI designer tool. We're not trying to replace your favorite UI designer tool. I mean, for designers, if you're familiar with, if you like to use SketchUp or InVision, like use them. You don't have to change your habits. xLayer is like really integrates with these tools and acts as a code generation for them. So today, xLayer supports fully supports SketchUp, and it basically converts your SketchUp file or design into basically any code. I will explain the any code part later on. So for today, we support SketchUp up until like the latest version, 53, I guess. And we are like also trying to support other SketchUp file format compatible UI designer tools, such as InVision, which have like the similar file format, or maybe we're also thinking about Adobe XD. So these tools are totally on our radar. So xLayer is fully open source. So everything is open source, like the code source, but also like our agenda, like the planning. So like everything is open source. There is nothing like, we're not hiding anything from you. And it's totally like, it's fully community driven. So we get feedback from the community and also feature requests. And we are really lucky to have a bunch of people helping us. And we also have like a regular contributors to the project besides William and myself. So thank you all. We do also have like two sponsors. So the first one is Sphere. So this is the company I work for. So they really do a great job by sponsoring this project. And like, yeah, William is working at Sphere as well, and most of his work is on xLayer actually. And we also wanted to thank Centrigrad, who actually contributed the xLayer logo. So back in the days, like I did a context, like asking for people who can create a logo for xLayer, and Centrigrad won the context, and like it's really fun. I like it. I should also mention that we're an open collective. Like we don't really talk about it because we're not like seeking for money. We're only like need like help from you guys contribute to the project. So yeah, for now, I mean, obviously xLayer costs like a little bit of money, but that's fine. But maybe for some features, which I would talk about next, this feature would like require maybe some infrastructure, and this would cost a little bit more money. But we're not talking about money here.
Before you move
yeah.
too far forward, so you mentioned everything's open source, everything from the code to the planning to feature management. So where would one go to be able to get involved?
Mike,
Or is that something you're going to get to later?
I have a link, yes.
All right, then I'll shut up now.
Okay, but thanks for mentioning. But yeah, to give you the short answer, we're on GitHub. Yeah. So currently, and we support these frameworks. So obviously Angular, which like has been the first one, and then we had like the community contributed with like web component, lit element, stencil, view, and yeah, like we made it easier for everyone to contribute. Like the parser and the code generator are like have simple APIs, and the code generator, for instance, it's only like a string-based code gen, so you can put like Flutter if you want. You could like generate Java or PHP if you would like to.
Okay, so wait. So you and your team built a tool to help us convert our Sketch apps into code,
Yep.
and you made it so that it works to all those other platforms right there. That's
Well,
really impressive.
that was an accident, actually. So yeah,
I want accidents like that when I build stuff, and
we'll get back to this on the discussion part maybe. So yeah, I just want to take like a minute to talk about our long-term goals. So obviously we want, for now, like we don't have any sharing support, so we would like to have this supported, so people can share their projects with anyone, like on the internet. We have like shortcut links or bookmarked links, for instance. And this is actually part of a bigger user story, because we would need like to have like some infrastructure, like have a session support, have a like a database where you can store files and all the stuff. Obviously, we want to have more frameworks, so that's like depends on you. And we also like we're thinking about externalizing our CodeGen API, so we can have maybe a REST API where like you can request for batch processing, or even like have a CLI integrated to, let's say, the Angular CLI or Vue CLI or other frameworks, or like have, for instance, like a schematic or a builder for Angular. And obviously more UI design tools, but this is really like difficult to say, because if the tool is like if it has a like, let's say, a parsable or maybe a hackable file format, we could support it. Otherwise, we cannot, for some like technical, obviously, reasons. Someone from the community has suggested that we can have maybe a VS Code plugin and SketchUp plugin, like to ease the use of xLayer. Maybe imagine you're a developer on working on your VS Code with xLayer plugin, so you can drag and drop your design and have the code generated for you. That would be really awesome. And finally, where we're thinking about having like some sort of xLayer DSL, where, for instance, because currently actually what we generate, like the HTML is only div based. Like everything is div, like divider. So if you as a designer if you have like a button or an input or table, we would only generate divs for now. And we want to fix that. We want to generate tables, buttons, and like semantic HTML. But for this, we would need some help from you, from the designer. So maybe while you design your button or your inputs, you could add some hints for the code gen, so we could use this and integrate it into our code gen. And finally, so we obviously have a domain. So this is where everyone should go to use the app, xlayer.app. And since we want to be really inclusive, and so Justin, I have a special announcement for Angular Show users.
awesome.
So we also have a design TLD, xlayer TLD, and we also have an xlayer.dev, kindly sponsored and donated by our friends at NG Atlanta. And special thanks to Zach here. So yeah, app design and dev, everyone is happy.
All right, and they all go to the same spot?
Yes, for now they all point to the same CDN. Yeah. And so, Mike, yeah, we are on GitHub, xlayer/xlayer, and we also have a Slack where everyone is welcome. All right, so I'm done.
Okay, so
I'll stop sharing.
Okay, let me pop that out of there. Let's see. Okay, I think there's probably a lot of questions. We want to kind of dig into some stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested on the Angular side, right? Like what's that story now? So I have a Sketch app, I have my design team, or maybe I made my Sketch app to prototype what my app is going to look like, and I'm ready to start converting that to code that I can use in my Angular app.
Yep. Just before I forget, we could do a demo afterwards. So yeah, for now, I mean, for Angular, well, we obviously try to like implement all the best practices for each framework. So for Angular, we code gen an ng model for you, which has like everything. Basically, the design that gets generated, and all you have to do is like import that xLayer model into your code base. So when you generate the design, you either have like a zip file you can download on your file system, or we also like integrate with, I actually didn't mention it, but we integrate with StackBlitz. So you get like, go to StackBlitz and we push all the code gen to StackBlitz, so you can like continue prototyping there. Like, and we're trying to do this for other frameworks as well, like those who StackBlitz support.
Cool. Okay, so like if I'm looking at the site right now, and kind of the intro image shows like a calendar kind of
Yes.
UI, right? So let's take that calendar UI, and let's just take like the top part, right? That has the month and the day and the year. Let's say I've got that design and I want to convert that into an Angular. Is that going to be a single component? Do I have control over that? Can you kind of, let's talk through that scenario?
So yeah, for now, I mean, if you see like on the top left, it's still in alpha version, the xLayer. So we are still like, for now, it's like a raw code gen. We basically, and like to be completely transparent, we just go over all the layers into your design and like convert them to divs. So we have only one component which has everything, which is obviously not the perfect thing to have as a developer, but we are just like at the beginning of this, and that's why like we're thinking about, for instance, like trying to optimize as much as possible the generated CSS as well, because we have lots of duplicates. And at the same time, we also will start trying to optimize the generated code, generated HTML as well. So yeah, this is something also we're aware of, and we will try hard to fix it.
Okay, so it's going to take, so let's say I'm trying to like remember kind of back in my days when I'd work with SketchUp, right? And I think you could make different concepts with like different pages or views, or like, let's say we have this calendar, right? And then we have another layout that's for like event details. And so if I bring that into here, would it identify and say, okay, I'm making two components, one for the calendar, one for the event? And then in that one component, each component that makes like this calendar component, it's going to, you're saying it's going to take that, it's going to look at all the way I have it broken down in my Sketch app configured and make divs out of all the containers and stuff to replicate that in HTML.
So actually we've tried this. So yeah, in Sketch app, you have like pages, and on each page you can have the designs like widgets. Like, well, actually, like the best workflow that works well with currently that works well with xLayer is to have only one widget per design, because we like, this is really tied to the implementation of the file format from SketchUp. Like you have like a recursive layers actually into your JSON file, and you have no separation between, like in one page, you have no separation between each design. Or like maybe this would change in the future. I don't know. I mean, we only like try to implement what's in the file format. And but we do support like multiple pages. So if your design have multiple pages, you get them on the left side on the sidebar, and you could like switch between each page. But for now, I mean, this is like, we are trying to recommend this like to the current like xLayer early adopters, like to have only one design per page.
Okay. And then, so then it generates that HTML and CSS as well?
Yeah, HTML and CSS.
Okay.
So you have like two parsers. You have the layers parser, which spits out HTML, and then we also like extract, and this is like part of the work that William did recently. We extract all the positioning and styles into a separate I mean, using a separate parser. So you have the CSS file, you have your HTML file as well.
And
And like during the code gen part, we integrate our like framework specifics using like TypeScript or JSX or anything.
So are you then also deriving any types of behaviors as well? So if there's like a hover effect or anything like that, is that anything else
Yeah.
that
So the
maybe
short
like
answer
page?
is not yet.
Okay. I wasn't sure because if you're defining
Yeah.
different pages and layers for different styles, whether or not those could essentially be incorporated into the same thing, or maybe those extracted styles could be different classes that could then be applied that you could apply based off a different event. So a hover or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, for now it's really completely static. I mean, but I mean, who knows? Maybe this is something we could add in the future if we like once we're okay with the generated CSS code and the generated semantically valid HTML code as well.
Actually, on the roadmap, there is something we consider a lot, to make the design responsive. Actually, it's fully static and is using a position to make the design match to your SketchUp design.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a
display
question.
flex.
Yeah, for now it's like one-to-one code gen. I mean, no optimizations are applied, and we have like Jeff from the contributor team who is currently working on like trying to have a fully optimized CSS generated code, and yeah, there are like some like we found some thesis on the internet where people like trying to apply some patterns to this. So yeah, we're looking into this.
Yeah, cool. I imagine like now that you have the pipeline
Yes.
created, right? The process for doing this, now you can really dial in and iterate over that.
We could build on it and then like have more robust code gen.
So I have two questions and they're not totally related, but I'm going to ask both of them at the same time and you can answer whichever you want. So the first is what type of framework specific sprinkling are you doing within the generated code to make it framework specific? And then my other question is related to code quality. And not to say you're not writing quality code, just to be clear. But
Do you mean the
Go ahead.
generated code quality or?
Yeah, generated code quality.
Okay.
Are you envisioning that to be production ready generated code, or is this prototype level quality? Just wondering what the target is, or if you have multiple different targets.
Sure. That's really good question. So to answer your second question, so our target developers are like I mean this is not targeting production ready apps because you would still have like to clean up some bits of the generated code. So we almost like trying to generate maybe perhaps like 80% of the code, and then you would still have to implement like specific UI logic or business logic, like you mentioned, hovers and all these behaviors. And so for the code, the code quality, we only generate like the needed parts. For instance, for Angular, we have a module, we have a routing module, we have a component, HTML file and CSS file, and also a spec file. And all these frameworks have also a README, which explains how you can integrate this into your specific framework. So yeah, for Angular module, we have like the minimal basic code structure with only the component that like we generated. So yeah, code quality should be okay. From if we take into account only what xLayers generates. And then for like framework specifics, we are like doing really like the minimum set of integration. Like we give you, for instance, like again take Angular, like we mimic the Angular CLI, for instance. When you generate a Angular CLI component using Angular CLI, we basically have the same amount of code generated plus all the code gen from your like the layers and the CSS. That's basically it. And we do this for all other for React, for Vue, and other frameworks. We're not generating anything extra, actually.
I like that. I like that approach. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna dig a little deeper. Okay,
Yep.
how does it handle the CSS stuff? Does it create CSS classes for us in there? Like, what is it? How does it do this?
So, well, the first approach, I mean, when I implemented this back, like I used to have like a inline CSS, because like in the Sketch app file format, you have let's say like a JSON representation of your layer, and it has also like positioning, it has shadows information, it has styles, everything encapsulated. But then what we did recently is like we try to generate random CSS class names, and then have a separate CSS like external CSS file actually, and then we like use this. Actually, when we generate like random CSS class names, we try to like enrich the existing parts, like existing AST with this information, so we can have like sort of like map them, you know. So yeah, we try to do this like as clean as possible. We were like separating the CSS from the UI. And yeah, like even the CSS classes are like randomly generated with like minimum characters for like file size if you want. So we're trying to get this.
That's cool. I can totally see that there's a potential there too, going forward. Like you talk about with designers, DSLs, and things like that. That somebody could come in and say, "Oh, we want to prefix all of our selectors with this, and can I load that configuration into xLayers?" And xLayers will use that in the processing to create my CSS names and stuff like that. There's that potential there, right?
Yep. So yeah, this is actually something we like I personally didn't consider, but it's really like a great idea. We can like totally get this. But yeah, I mean, with the amount of work we have today, like we're only like scratching like maybe 2% of all what we can do for the future. If you want, I can like give you a demo.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
that's awesome.
it's gonna be quick because everything is automated.
That's cool.
Okay, let me share again my screen. Share. Okay, so can you see? Yep. So here I'm in the app. Like, let's go to the dev. That's much cooler. So yeah, so this is the like basic UI. I mean the editor interface. So we support drag and drop. You can drag and drop your file. You can browse your file system, and while we work on xLayer, actually we've added this minimal set of demo files, so we can try them. And also we have these files integrated in our test system.
Okay, so really quick, you said xLayers, this app is built in Angular, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm assuming you have like an Angular component there to handle that drag and drop?
Yes, it's yeah, this part here, yeah.
And you said it's open source, right? So now, like, if I'm needing to implement drag and drop of a file into my application, hey, I could go check out xLayers.
Go get it, yeah.
All right,
I should mention that xLayer is using the Apache license, so just in case.
Okay.
But yeah, everything is fully open source. So for instance, the where is it? The date picker you mentioned earlier, this one. So it's this one. So like I clicked on the demo file, and it's like, I mean, I could also drag and drop it from my file system. Both work actually. and I probably show both of them. So we have like the design, and you can see where when I go like hover over all the layers, we have some like hints. And on the left side, we have like all the pages. So this one has only one page, and this page has all these layers. So these are the layers created by the designer using Sketch app, and also like labeled as such. And then here on the right side, we have this preview. So actually the preview is, we just extract the preview from the Sketch app file, because Sketch app already embed a PNG preview of your design. So it was really handy. So you can click on it and like download it. And for some layers, we have some basic informations like the name of the layer, the kind, some basic positioning. Maybe for some of them, I don't know. Yeah, have some colors also. And we have this on the top. We have a sidebar with a couple of features. Like for instance, you can like debug your design. I mean, that's a developer feature, as I should say. And you can like zoom out, zoom in, and up. You can have this 3D inspection view, where we like using CSS 3D, like we how we should say, like separate all the layers into 3D mode. And Summit, who is one of the contributors, he's working actually on having this like has a 3D rotation, you know, like if we're using like a 3D modeler or something like that, just for fun. Yeah.
Okay, so that's really cool. What that's just CSS that you're doing there? Is it like
that's only like CSS 3D with perspective and like 100% CSS.
That's pretty impressive.
And the code gen part is the last button here up. So when you click on it, you have this, and everything is material design component. So we have this material tabs. You have the README in Markdown file. You have this is AngularAir. So we have a component, really simple. We have the HTML. Like, as I said, everything is a div, and these are the CSS classes we generate for you. And also, we're trying to be area accessible. So we try like to add any accessibility information we have from the Sketchfile app. And on the CSS part, we also spit out all your CSS information, obviously for the same element, HTML element. So as I mentioned earlier, if you notice, we have like some duplicates CSS properties per node. So we're in the process of trying to optimize everything and have like clean CSS output. There is a basic, like for those who test their code, basic minimal test file. And these are the models, the routing models, if you want, and the xLayer models, sorry. And here we have the supported frameworks. So let's go, for instance, to Vue. So I have the same thing. Like this is obviously Vue file, like trying to, again, implement the best practices. And for those who are watching the show, if there is something that bugs you or bother you, please reach out to us for like your favorite framework, like help us implement, because we are not aware of every like guidelines or best practices for each community. So feel free to reach out to us. Last one was, okay, so this is the production actually. So we don't have lit element because we didn't release yet. We have like two weeks cycle release actually. So in the dev mode, currently we have lit element plus this. So this is like stencil, and yeah, I mean, all the rest are the same thing. Like the code gen generate the same thing, HTML and CSS, and the rest is specific to each framework. So let me get back to Angular. So when you're, for instance, on Angular, Stencil, or React, you have this StackBlitz export button. So here we go to, like, we create actually on demand a project on StackBlitz. And I really want, like, to thank folks at StackBlitz, because they helped us get this work, like, seamlessly. And then I have the file, like, the folder. This folder contains, like, all the files that I just showed you. You know, everything's here, and you have your component generated. For instance, let me change the date up. I mean, it's dynamic. And for some, like, for instance, I don't know, maybe Stencil. Yeah, Stencil, like, currently StackBlitz doesn't support Stencil. Like, they're working on adding support for it. So we disable the export button, and we give you, like, a zip export, on your file system. That's like a fallback if you want. And that's it. That was the demo, really quick. Let me stop sharing. Okay.
Okay, so how do you envision as going forward this to be supportive for us managing changes over time, right, to our designs? Or so we take that calendar component or calendar design and we make tweaks to it, 2 months in, and I got to come back and plug it into the pipeline and go through, like, how's that process?
I mean,
in the future of xLayers?
That's something like the community would decide on. I mean, if this is something that everyone wants, so, like, there is a voting system and an RFC on GitHub. So, like, yeah, anyone can create an RFC, and let's discuss and iterate over it. If this is something you want to support in xLayer, yeah, I mean, we could do it. But, like, for now, because we actually tried earlier to have, like, when you code gen your components, I mean, you could still, like, update the generated code inside xLayer, but then we couldn't actually update the design. So it's only one way. It's like two ways. It's really hard to implement because we would have, like, to have an extra data structure to maintain the like, two-way binding, And that, yeah, for now, that's something I personally haven't considered. Maybe William has something to add to this. But yeah, if this is something like you just if you wanted to have it in xLayer, yeah, let's discuss on GitHub.
Yeah, because I can see it kind of right now, like, and again, it's in alpha, right? So we're just breaking the ground on it and getting going. So make sure everybody is aware of that, right? But that I would take my design and I would kind of almost use this as, like, the getting started for that first implementation of that design or component in my application, and then from there I'm up and running, and now I'm living in my app as I make changes there.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
yeah,
we did the estimate, like, if, for instance, I have a basic component like the date picker, you use xLayer to generate this amount of code. Like, from the business side, you're already, like, one a day, for instance. The rest of it, like cleaning the code and adding, like, Angular business logic or something like that.
Yeah, which is a big step, right? I mean, to take a design and write the markup for it.
And by the way, we, like, at Sphere, we have, like, 2 clients trying xLayer recently, like, currently, and willing to contribute to it as well.
Yeah, very cool. So you mentioned there's a voting system. Is there a place to vote and really pump up the HTML semantic part, so we could, like, cheer for that being the very next thing that gets added?
Yeah, we didn't integrate the voting system yet, but there's an RFC, so you could just create an RFC and then discuss on that thread. But I think, yeah, the semantic HTML is, like, we discussed this yesterday with William. It's already on the roadmap.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing that I'd be really looking forward to, right?
Yeah, I mean,
that getting that, and then I feel like, okay, man, at that point I can just start chucking things in here, rapidly create that initial code that I need, and be rolling. Yeah.
And, like, even us, like, as developers, like, even the code that gets generated, like, sometimes is really not ideal, you know. So we want better code and clean code. So we are working on that as well.
But again, I think the key is that you have a system there, right? And you have this processing, workflow there. And so now it's just, you can start dialing that in and make that happen. Like a big challenge.
That's true. Actually, the core of the project is the parser, actually. So that's why we wanted to externalize the parser as a REST API or CLI or whatever. And then because xLayer would be just a UI on top of the parser.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I'm very interested in that idea of having a separate API. I have some undertakings that are on my radar where that could be very, very, very appealing.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a bunch of design files you want to convert, so yeah, you could just call an API, send a post request with the JSON payload, and then get back the code generated instantly.
So yes, as we said, xLayer, we won't just stay with the client, the web app. As we mentioned, we want to try VS Code plugin, SketchUp plugin, and use the parser and a lot more project and extension and plugin. And
exactly.
So on.
Yeah. So the API would be like the core of all of these UI, I mean, tools, integrations. Yeah, let's just say.
And since this is a web app, would you be able to kind of, not easy, but the roadmap to getting it into VS Code might be a little more.
Well, yeah, we've discussed this with the team actually. So if we need to build a VS Code plugin, we would have a separate project actually. We won't have, because obviously the app has a landing page, has this editor UI, so that's would be too much for a VS Code plugin. So yeah, we would have a separate code plugin that uses actually the code gen, I mean the parser and the code gen APIs.
Really
but
cool.
We actually started because we already, thanks to William, we already converted the project into an Angular monorepo. So we have the parser, which sits there as a library, like TypeScript library, and then we have the application, which is the UI as you see it. So even starting from maybe, because we have a 2 weeks milestone, maybe in next milestone we should be ready to publish the parser separately onto NPM.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I do have one other question that I was curious about. How about form fields, inputs and stuff like that? Does it do anything for that right now?
So that would be part, I mean, to me, actually, that would be part of the semantic HTML story. So if we see that you've designed a text area or a button or an input or other form fields, we should be able to convert them. But this is also tied to the DSL part, so we should really think about it and how, because as one of my first priority was to not impose anything to designers. I mean, we don't want to ask them, okay, you should use this tool and that tool to get your design to xLayer. I mean, no one would do it. So we want them to use their typical tools, their typical habits, and don't change anything, and then just, if they want, drag and drop their files. So, but for the DSL part, we might need to ask them a little bit, a little favor, just give us some hints, because the information that we have inside the Sketch app file format doesn't mention this. Actually, they're all layers. They're just layers. So we don't know if there is an input or a table or a checkbox. Yeah.
All right, very cool.
Or we could use machine learning maybe to generate this. I don't know. Let's get crazy.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of possibilities, right?
Yeah. I've thought about this actually earlier, but that's for version 3 maybe.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. We'll have to do another show on that for sure. What I can also see this as being a valuable step for helping designers get into Angular more, right? Maybe make that roadmap a little easier if they're able to take their design, have this thing generate the initial component code that they could look at and see, and they could make this reference to and understand that, like, oh, I made this design. Here's the HTML. Here's the CSS. Oh, here's the code behind it. Maybe now that helps bridge the gap for designers as well to enter into.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, it could be a great idea to have a schematic for Angular CLI, that like you give it a SketchUp file, and then it gets you like the usual component generated, but with your design into it. I mean, if someone wants to make it,
components already support the asynchronous nature. I have to finish a pull request. There's some issues with asynchronous template sources, but that's okay. We can definitely tweak that.
All right. So you can send a pull request, maybe, Mike, to xLayers.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're getting to the top of the hour, so we better wrap it up. Any last things we want to add on xLayers before we get to some picks?
I mean, yeah, just check us out on GitHub, or like you can ping me or maybe William on Twitter for more questions, or like just say hi, maybe.
Awesome. All right. Go ahead.
Even you can join the Slack and contribute.
Yes. Yeah. I will share the slides afterwards.
Cool.
We have all the links.
All right, let's do some picks. Mike, do you have any picks?
I have one, and it's not tech related. My pick is woodworking. I've been getting into doing a little bit of woodworking, nothing complicated or anything yet, but just the idea of building something with my hands, not necessarily digitally. So definitely different mindset and different set of rewards as you get through and accomplish different things.
All right, awesome. Are you going to share any pics of the stuff you work on social medias?
Yeah, I'll share some stuff once I create it. I have a few interesting projects that I'd like to get started that are somewhat related. So
awesome, very cool.
I'll ping you about that, Mike, if you forget.
There you go. Right on. All right, I've got a pick today, and it's a sticker. It's my most favorite developer sticker ever, and it's this GitHub one,
I know this one.
and I got this from somebody. Somebody sent this to me. Even wrote a special note on the back. I don't even want to stick this on anything. I just leave it by my monitor. Wassim sent me this sticker, and it's my most favorite sticker. So that's my pick. And thank you.
Awesome. You kept it. Awesome. That's wonderful.
I love it. It's my favorite. So, all right. William, Wassim, do you have any picks that you want to share?
Yeah, maybe William first.
Yeah. Besides xLayers, I work on a project a little crazy. Do you know what is an MMORPG game?
No. Yes.
Oh. I'm actually working on a server on the game called Nostal, and I'm creating from scratch the entire server, and it's actually open source.
Wow.
Oh, actually, there's something I should mention about William. He's an Elixir and Erlang developer. Actually, he's not an Angular developer.
I used that to work on Angular just few months ago.
Yeah,
and
he's rocking everything.
Okay, so between xLayer, that project, and a game project, right? I mean, you obviously like to dive into things that are pretty massive, right?
Yeah,
really cool.
Diversity is very cool. Exploring a lot of complicated things is challenging, and it's always funny.
Yeah,
I thought.
Awesome.
So yeah, William took over the parser, which is the core piece of xLayer, like in 3 days maybe. Like he took over all the ownership. Really congrats. So yeah, I have 2 picks, if I may. So the first one is Bazel. I mean, maybe you know that the orchestrator build tool. So that's actually part of my work on the Angular team, and it's like a really amazing technology. I mean, you should definitely check it out. My second pick is a person actually. You know Felipe da Silva from the Angular tooling team? So he helped me actually get on board the Angular tooling team. like he's really like an amazing person. Like I wanted to thank him like during the show. Thank you, Philip.
Very, very awesome. I love this. Our last episode, our guest picked some people as their picks. I like this trend.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to like start requiring people.
Yeah, we should thank people when it's.
I fully agree. I
Good
fully
job, you know.
agree. Speaking of that, Wassim, William, thank you very much for sharing your time and coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
But not only thank you
you.
for being on the show, but thank you for creating an amazing tool and sharing
Yes.
it with everyone.
Thank you, Mike.
Very
Thank
much.
you, Mike.
I hope you'll use it.
Very much. All right. That's a wrap. We'll see everyone next time.
All right.
Later.
Yeah.
Bye. Yeah.